I'm Jordan. September is over. And so now it's time for me to talk about the games I played in September. I didn't play a ton of games, but I played really good games. I think many of the games that I played in September, I think could be some of my favorite games to come out this year. So I don't know. It's just been it was a really good month. Even though I didn't play a ton of new games, most of the games that I played in September were absolutely fantastic. The one game that I'll talk about first is the most recent one. The review is just now going up on Instagram at the time of me recording it, because I recorded it like 10 minutes ago. But that is Get On Board. This is the reprint of Let's Make a Bus Route. This is a flip and write game. Now, Let's Make a Bus Route's been around for years, but this is a new edition, a new not retheme, because it's the same thing, a reskin, if you will, a new coat of paint over that game with a new title that feels, I don't know. I don't know which title I like better. I think they're both fine titles. But I got to play this one with the Room 51 crew, which was really great, at Dice Tower East with Matthew and Justin and their partners. And it was just a really great game. And I really wanted to get my hands on it, so I was able to get a copy of the new edition. And really the biggest change is, instead of using a dry erase board that everybody's writing on, you're using a shared board with little road markers that you're putting out. So not a huge change that way, and I honestly like the change, because I don't like, and I may have mentioned this in the past, I don't like dry erase boards and markers as much as other people do. I actually prefer pencils and paper. I think dry erase markers smudge, and I think they're hard over time to keep completely clean. But that's just me. But Get On Board, really, really wonderful game. It feels like it's part of a trilogy of mass transit themed flip and write games with Metro X, and then the next game I'm going to talk about, it kind of rounds out that trilogy. And I don't know which one I like better. I might like Get On Board the most, or I might like the other one. I probably like Metro X less than these two that I'm talking about, but these two are really fantastic games. I really like them. They all have just a really nice level of complexity that keeps you interested, but also are very inviting and engaging and accessible from the get, which I really enjoy. So Get On Board. If you're into these roll and write, flip and write kind of games, this one plays maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, not much at all, with a great level of player counts and stuff. Really great. Get this one, because I think it's really cool. And then, to round out that trilogy, we got Metro X, we got Get On Board, or Let's Make a Bus Route, and now we also have Next Station London, which is from Blue Orange Games. And Blue Orange Games this year, and I've talked about a couple of their games recently, this might be my favorite of them in this year. This one is absolutely wonderful game. This is a flip and write game, of course, it's got cards, and you're making an underground map, think Metro X, but this one is a grid board, and you're using colored pencils to draw from space to space along this grid board. But the thing is, so you might be doing like the pink line first, and so you do the whole round with the cards, drawing the pink line, connecting different places, trying to get across in different spots on the map. And then once the round ends, you pass your pencils to the person to your left, and you get a new color pencil. Now you're starting from the blue line, and you're going from the blue line and moving around, while the person next to you is then doing their pink line. So that, that hook is surprisingly cool. It feels like a gimmick, and it really is a gimmick, but it works really well and engaging in the way that it is allowing you to complete the lines in different orders, and it keeps everybody from doing the same thing, because I'm starting from this spot and you're starting from that spot, and where you're trying to get to from this bottom spot is different from where you're trying to get to in the upper corner. And so it works. It works really well. And I think in this day and age with so many roll and write games and so many flip and write games coming out, because I think it's, it has a simple design space for a lot of places, and it's easy when it comes to overhead to put these out, that everybody's coming out with them. But I think between Get On Board, which I just talked about, which is kind of almost a modern classic at this point because Let's Make a Bus Around's been around for a while, but this one now coming to North America, and then this one also, I think these two are probably in the top tier of roll and write games. I think they're really wonderful, really fantastic entries, and they fit well with Metro X or, Railroad Inc., those kind of like transit type of weird flip and write, roll and write kind of games. It just works really well for me. It's kind of a sweet spot for me. Now, a series of games that I've kind of missed out on for the last number of years is Dice Throne. I have a copy of one of the base packs of Dice Throne. I got it for a gift for a birthday or Christmas a year or two ago, and I've just never gotten it played. And I don't know why. I think it may be kind of I don't know. It could be just kind of the generic fantasy kind of theme to it. Everybody kind of call it Battle Yahtzee, which I kind of assume is similar to like a King of Tokyo, which I'm not a huge fan of King of Tokyo, unfortunately. But recently I was able to get my hands on the complete set of Marvel Dice Throne, and this is one of the little boxes. This one is Black Widow and Doctor Strange. There's also Black Panther and Black Panther and Captain Marvel, and then there's a big box with Miles Morales. Who else is there? Thor, Loki, and another one that I am forgetting, but they exist, and I bet they're really great too. But I got all of them. I think there's 8 in total in this first set, and I do wish I had backed this on Kickstarter because this is really wonderful. But this really does, feels like Battle Yahtzee. You're rolling these dice, you're trying to create runs and straights and sets and things like that, and each player plays very asymmetrically and very thematically, where Loki is very annoying. Loki is constantly covering up things and stopping you from being able to do certain moves and hurting you very slowly. Or Thor has Mjolnir, where he's just kind of like throwing the hammer. He hits you for a little bit of damage and pulls it back and then gets some extra strength and throws it out and gets some extra strength. Doctor Strange is casting spells everywhere. It works really well thematically in that kind of system, which I haven't played other Dice Throne stuff, and I kind of want to now, because this set was so fantastic. I think Thor is probably my favorite hero in the game. He is a bit more straightforward. I think some of the more difficult heroes like Doctor Strange and Black Widow, like this pack right here, is a bit more complex than some of the other ones. And I don't necessarily like the super difficult ones. I think I'm more lower or mid-tier in complexity for these. I think the more difficult ones feel a bit more convoluted than I think they need to be. But I think they all work super well. And I'm impressed with how thematic they were able to make them. It feels almost like a Marvel United, where it takes kind of a very simple mechanism, very simple system of game, and just kind of is able to, around that system, able to wrap some extra, that extra coat of paint and spray paint and fabric, and they're able to sew it all together and stitch it together and crochet and yarn it to make it look like that character and feel like that character, even though the inside feels very similar. So very impressed with that. Marvel Dice Throne. I'm excited for what's to come. I don't know. I'm assuming there's going to be more Marvel Dice Throne. I can't imagine they would stop after these 8 heroes, because we don't even have Captain America yet. We don't have Iron Man. We don't have Incredible Hulk. We don't have, the Guardians of the Galaxy or regular Spider-Man. Like, we're still missing so many top tier heroes that they have to do more, right? Whether they do MCU kind of stuff like they focused on this one, or they do more comic book kind of stuff. I'd love to see Nova and Adam Warlock, like that kind of stuff would be really cool. So yeah, Marvel Dice Throne, really, really wonderful game. I'm really happy I was able to get my hands on it. Probably my biggest surprise of the month was this little game right here. This is called Hungry Monkey from Heidelberg Games, also brought to the U.S. Through Flat River Group. Flat River Games is the people that are bringing this one over. And this is a card shedding game. So it's a game in which you're trying to get rid of all of your cards. And it feels like it's played in a couple different, like two different parts, where you have a small set of hands. I think it's 3 cards in your hand, and then you have a bunch of cards down in front of you, 5 cards face down in front of you. That feels kind of like golf or silver, Cabo, whatever game you're familiar with. And you don't know what those cards are, but you know the cards in your hand. And you're taking turns playing cards down on the table that are in ascending order. So if somebody plays a 3, you have to play a card higher than a 3, or you could also play a 3. And if you have multiple 3s, you can play multiple 3s. And then you draw back up to your hand. And you're doing this until the deck runs out. Once the deck runs out, then you're able to start playing the cards that are face down in front of you. So that first half of the game, you're trying to learn what the cards face down in front of you are. So it feels similar to like a golf style game where you're trying to figure out what those are in order to try to remember how to play them in the second half of the game. Some of the cards that you're playing are giving you actions in order to look at them. So the bird allows you to switch a card from your hand with one of your face down cards, or the snake allows you to look at one of your cards, and then you need to remember it. So when that second half of the game comes, you can play cards from your hand, but you don't have to draw back up, but you can also play cards from the table. And so if you play a card from the table and it's wrong, then you have to take all the cards that were in that discard pile back into your hand. And then you have even more cards that you have to get rid of. So there is there's definitely a lot of risk when it comes to that. And I'm just really impressed with how this game feels like a classic card game, because it's kind of a riff on a couple different classic card games. But it's just, I don't know. This little unassuming package of a card game really charmed me, and I played this for long stretches with friends. We had our church retreat in September, and I took it, and our kids were at the pool at the retreat center that we were at, and we were just sitting poolside at a picnic table. We played Hungry Monkey for a very long time, and it was really great. I played it with friends since then, and I'm going to hang on to this one. This one I don't know why. I really have an affinity towards little card games, and this one is really great. It's from the same line that did Anansi, which I talked about a while ago, and I really like this as a trick-taking game. It's kind of in that shiny line of games that Heidelberg did a couple years ago. This one is not shiny, but also really cool. Really, really cool. That's Hungry Monkey. If you can have a chance to try this one out, I hope you're not disappointed, because I keep talking about it, and I'm a little worried that other people aren't going to like it as much as I do. But I feel like I might be championing this one for a bit, because it just feels really, it's just really charming, and I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my September. Thanks for watching this and my rambling about these games. In the comments, let me know what your favorite roll and write or flip and write game that is about transportation, because there's a lot of them apparently, and I've played a handful, but maybe I've missed some, and apparently it is one of my favorite types of game. So roll and write, flip and write games about transportation, like real world transportation, like trains and automobiles and buses and planes, I guess. I don't know. I'm Jordan. Thanks.